Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Becoming Relentless. I am your host, Noa McCabe, and I'm joined by my amazing co-host,
Danielle Kusenberger.
Woo!
Woo!
And we're very happy to have y'all back here again listening. We have some very special news, some special updates.
You should go first with your update. It's more special than mine.
I guess.
Unless you want to end with the bang and you're the bang.
No. I don't think I'm the bang.
You are.
Okay, I'm just going to dive right in. I know everybody's like, what is going on? Not really. Probably people are like, we don't care. But
they care.
So as y'all know, if you've been listening through this year, when we started this podcast in November, I had also started contest prep. And now it is September and I'm calling it. So,
she did it, guys. No way, bro. You just did a do. That was awesome.
I did.
That was awesome.
I think if you're an advanced competitor or a coach listening to this podcast, you probably had that thought in the back of your mind of like, man, when is Noah going to get on stage? It's been a while. And yes, I had the same thoughts, but I'm very excited to announce that I am wrapping up this contest prep. I'm not getting on stage this year. We are going to aim for next year, 2024, because I need to practice what we preach, and you can't get on stage if you're not ready and if you're not competitive. And as a pro, going into my pro debut, I really want that to be something special. I know that people say, oh, it's a pro debut, doesn't matter. Like, you can fail your pro debut because no one will remember, like blah, blah, blah. But I take the opposite approach. I have the opposite mindset with it. And I think you would agree. Your pro debut is something very special, and it can be something very special, and it can be something that sets you up for success in the pro league. And so that's what I want mine to be. And looking at my physique through this contest prep, I've definitely made improvements. I've brought a lot more muscle across the board, but unfortunately, every time that we would add more cardio in or add in a fat burner or drop food, my glutes would basically deflate like instantly, which tells us that I don't have the glute density or the glute muscle yet to be truly competitive. And I want to present the best physique that I can on the pro stage. I want to come out swinging. And so to do that, I need to take more time. And honestly, making that decision was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, or that maybe people would think it would be. And looking back, I don't have any regrets at all. I think some people ask me like, well, isn't that frustrating? Because I've been talking about this with like my close friends. They're like, you've spent this whole year up to this date so far, like in a prep, and you're not going to get on stage. Isn't that frustrating or sad or annoying? And I could look at it that way, but I really don't feel that way at all. Like, I really don't feel disappointed. I feel really good with what we did. And I think that going through a deficit, a prep, and teaching myself not to be so fixated and so emotional about a date, and learning truly what it means to put myself through a contest prep without a show date in mind, built a lot of mental resilience that I think is just going to serve me moving forward. And I had like a lot of lessons along this way, like a lot of growth. And I'm just really proud of what I did. And I think the next 6 months of like growth and really focusing on my glutes, like actually really just training for glute growth, is going to set me up for so much more success next season.
I do believe one of the reasons why you are so at peace with this as well is because you knew it was the right decision.
Yeah, I definitely did. I definitely knew that this was the right call.
But like you said, at the end of the day, you want to bring your best, and the only way to do that is to make sure you have time working on in your favor, and that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. Next year's going to be really rewarding.
I think so too. I think it's going to be a lot more rewarding to know that I took the time, the proper time. And I'm really excited to like continue to lead my athletes. Like, I'm actually really excited because now we're all going through it together. a lot of the girls that I picked up this year that I'm like really lucky to work with, all my athletes, they wanted to get on stage this year. And I had to tell them like, let's take the time to grow. Let's wait, put on muscle, and we'll see next year. Like I had to tell them that. And so for me to go through a prep and then not get on stage and now show them, hey, it's okay. Like it's okay to take the time. It's okay to wait. The stage isn't going anywhere. And I can truly lead them through my own actions. That feels very rewarding as well. And then next year when we all get to prep together, I think that's going to be super fun.
It's exciting. It's also funny. I do believe that throughout this podcast, people have learned the types of coaches that we are. And I will say, I'm going to ask you this question, but based off my applications, all the applications I'm getting of competitors want to wait until next year. They're not asking to compete. They all want to be patient with it, which is what we're doing as well, is just we represent, especially you, taking time off to make sure you're going to do damage on stage.
Yeah. I've definitely seen that switch in my applicants too. I think at the beginning of this year, it was very much like I'd get an applicant and they would say, I want to do a show in November. And now I'm getting applicants. Like even yesterday, I got a woman who signed up with me and she's like, I want to place top 3 in my first competition ever. I've never competed, but my goal is top 3. And I was like, let's make the goal first. Like you're going to win first place and let's take the time to do so. And she was like, yeah, I'm willing to take the time and do the work. And I think that's so special. I would agree. I think this podcast too has really helped with getting our beliefs as coaches out there.
I agree. And I also feel like when your coach leads the way, it's easy to follow their lead.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a coach that's always not being patient with their progress, with preps, with anything, you can't expect your athlete to be patient as well, because we attract exactly who we are and what we preach and what we do.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
That's super. Next year. Next year's yeah.
What's crazy though is that the time goes by anyways. Like the time goes by so fast. I can't even believe that it's like halfway through 2023. Like we're in the back half of the year.
I was driving here in Canes. So there's a Canes that's like by UT campus, right? And I looked at the sign because they have like advertisements, and it said something about cheering up for the new year. And I was like, dude, we're in September. So either A, they kept that on since January, or they're just really eager.
They are ahead of the curve.
We are even in September. When this drops, we will be.
Yeah.
But this is August 30th.
At the time of recording, it is not September yet. Yeah. Actually, speaking of that, I saw in a store the peppermint mocha coffee creamers out. Peppermint mocha?
Pumpkin and peppermint is about to explode. I'm going to go grocery shopping for fish, and I'll be like, cool.
The pumpkin spice and like pumpkin stuff I get, and like apple crisp, because we are going to fall. But like peppermint, to me, that is...
They're just like, let's drop it all.
They're like, let's go.
Honestly, I think that's a great way to make money. People love peppermint year round, so might as well start early.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have to pull it eventually.
That's true. They really do. You can't
Marketing
find
tactics. Pick it up from us.
Yeah. We are actually marketing gurus. No.
Yes. Marketing. We're actually changing the podcast. I'm just kidding. Market with no ND.
Yeah, oh my gosh. That would be hilarious.
If we just reviewed products online. People do that. That's how they make money.
I think that could be so funny. That could be amazing.
But prep update for you.
Yes.
Very exciting. Very new. Yes. Very different.
That is my prep update. We are prepping no longer.
Prep? No.
Prep is over.
It's funny that you said this year's contest prep is at a wrap.
We're wrapping it up.
But there wasn't any contest. But I think it's awesome. Like,
there was no contest, only the prep.
The contest. So you did say something that I wanted to touch on.
Yeah.
Time's going to pass anyways. And that's people who struggle with cardio, struggle with anything, struggle with their day, struggle with getting things done. Your time's going to pass anyways. It's 8 a.m. It's going to be 8 p.m. at some point. So might as well make your time worthwhile. Might as well get it done. Might as well accomplish things. That's, and just like in a prep phase for you, might as well improve because the time's going to pass anyways.
I like 100% agree. And I think a lot of people do get bogged down and they rely too much on the immediate feeling of not wanting to do something versus thinking ahead. Like you're saying, the day is going to pass you by anyways. So you might as well do the things that you're supposed to do. But
I do want to touch on this too.
yeah, go for it.
We know athletes who are eager to be on stage, going through a prep. Their goal is to win overall, go pro, like it should be. And they leave the coach that they're with because the coach believes taking time would be more beneficial for them. They disagree. So they leave the coach they're with. They go with the coach that will prep them for their show date. As an athlete, we understand that when your self-belief is so high, you believe you can do it, the coach can tell you no, and you're like, watch me, which is great to have. Every athlete should believe in themselves so much. Mm-hmm. But you have to be realistic. And the best way to be realistic isn't the fact that you did more cardio than every other athlete, isn't the fact that you pushed so hard, more harder than ever before, this prep was so smooth, or you actually gave it your all. It's the fact if you put your physique, your side-by-side pictures next to the overall champion of last year or the champions that are winning right now, if you do not match density-wise or conditioning to that, you cannot expect yourself to do well. You just can't. And that's like the reality check. So you can have so much belief in yourself, but you have to reality check yourself. And that's what makes high-level competitors even a higher level competitor.
Yeah. Wow. Ooh. I got chills for real.
Really? That's awesome.
I think I have battled through a little bit of that this last prep, obviously, but more in like the June timeframe. And I think we had like a private conversation about it where it was my ego. Like it was me having so much self-belief and saying, you know, Jay's telling me I can't step on stage because I don't have enough muscle, but I feel like I could do well anyways. Like I feel like my physique is a pro level and pro worthy. But at the end of the day, I was able to step back and be like, one, I hired Justin because I have a belief that he will guide me to success. He knows what my goals are. I've been very clear. These are my goals. This is my vision. I'm going to let you drive. Like, I know that you can get me there. And part of that is having trust and faith in your coach that they will get you there. Even if they tell you, you can't step on stage yet, you're not ready. It hurts your ego, but that's your ego. It's not reality.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And something that I know that you've done within your responses to Justin is thanking him for calling you out or helping you XYZ. And that's something that I do. You should, in my belief system, be appreciative that your coach allows you to prep, because that means that they believe that you have done the work to be able to achieve the goal of being able to prep. Prepping is a stage. It's not, in my eyes, it's not. For some people, it is just the experience. Let's check off the box. Mm-hmm. But if your goal is to win, you have to earn the right to be entering a prep, to go throughout the prep to get on stage. If we do not put you in a prep, it's not because we don't like you. It's not because we don't believe in you. It's because we believe in you so much that you need more work to improve your physique, improve your mindset, improve your relationships, to find out what it actually means to grind in the off season before learning what it means to grind in a prep. Side note, if you think that prepping is going to fix your life because everything's going to have to be in order, that is the last thing that you're going to do, and you're actually going to run yourself into a hole and not want to prep ever again.
Yep. Agreed. It's not a Band-Aid fix. Mm-mm. You can't prep to solve the chaos that is your life. It just doesn't work that way. You have to have your life in order. And that doesn't mean perfect. We've talked about this so many times. It just means, can you handle the day-to-day stress and obstacles that life is going to throw at you? If you can't handle work, school, family, social, and staying on a diet, training, getting your steps, your water, those are basic foundational things. If you cannot get your water in, if you cannot hit your steps every day, then you can't do a contest prep.
And another thing, I get it. Like some weeks you might train 4 days instead of 5, XYZ. You need to be able to hit your stuff, like Noa's saying, every week for a consistent period of time, not just one good month.
Yes.
Not just one week out of the month where it was a really good week. I hit it. I'm ready. No, you're not.
Exactly. I talk so much about consistency because it truly does matter in terms of the compounding interest over time. Your consistency is what is going to get you closer to your goals or further away. If you are consistently taking small bites, licks, tastes of food and things off plan, you're consistently not going to get the results that you're wanting. Whereas if you're consistently hitting your plan, day to day, you might not see the change, right? I have some athletes come to me, or even myself, I'll use myself as an example. I will have a free meal, which is prescribed to me, but I'll have my free meal and the scale goes up. And then in the next 2-3 days, I'll hit my plan 100%. And then the scale won't go down. And sometimes I have that thought of like, damn, wait, I'm hitting the plan 100%. Why is nothing happening? It's not that nothing is happening. It's just that the scale is a tool and it's data. And really what I should be looking for is trends over time, because if I look at my pictures or if I look at the way that my clothes are fitting, that's what's changing. That's what's different. Or maybe I have more energy and I'm hitting PRs in the gym. My strength is going up. In that case, if my training's going up, then inflammation could be up, which is why I might not see the scale move for a little bit. So there's so many different reasons, and people just get so hyper fixated on one thing instead of just celebrating the consistency that they're doing. So for me, what I've realized now is like, yeah, I can have that free meal, and for the next week, my data might not change, but I know consistently I'm hitting my plan, and the next week I might see a 3-pound drop or not. But what matters over time is that I am consistently sticking to plan.
That's part of just letting your coach drive.
Mm-hmm.
And just execute.
Yeah.
When you think too much, exactly. When you allow yourself to like get too attached to little tangibles or little variables, or the meal has to be eaten at 12, not 12:15, little stuff like that. That's when you start getting yourself too wrapped up, and you actually will a lot of times cause more stress and more harm than good.
Yeah. Actually, I think we touched on this too, just you and I, when we were talking. If you stress yourself out about those little variables, that stress causes more damage.
I had an athlete ask if he should decrease his water by 2 ounces. 2 ounces is very small. You order a coffee out and they might have 2 more ounces than usual. So little things like that, when you get too attached to little variables, then you're driving yourself crazy, and therefore you're going to see and cause issues just because you believed that this small thing caused you issues. And we believe anything that we can convince our minds to. And that's why the same thing when we get prep goggles and prep of, I look like this, when in reality you don't. And that's why you need a coach that will call you out, kind of thing.
Yes. No, that's such a good point. It's so true. That's why you need a good coach, and you need to stick with them. When you hire your coach, when you find your fit, if you align with that coach, I promise you, if you're 4 weeks out and that coach tells you you're not ready to step on stage, I'm sorry, we have to push back or pull out or not step on stage. It's not that all of a sudden you and the coach aren't a good fit. It's that the coach cares about you so much, wants to see you win, and knows that you can do better. Mm-hmm. And I think prep goggles is a real thing. They just forget that, hey, you hired that coach in the first place. You trust them for a reason, right?
Especially when you go out through an off season with them. They care. We care.
Yeah, I know I care. I care a ton. And then I get sad. I'm like,
it hurts us to send y'all a text of, listen, we would be better fitted for next year. More so than it probably hurts y'all.
It's true. That's because we care. What about your contest prep updates?
Today, so we both checked in today, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Good week. Very good week. Actually, best week I've had. And I knew it would be because my stress was, I wasn't traveling this week. Stress is getting handled. But I make sure the biggest thing is that my ducks are in a row throughout the week. My sleep is always first and foremost. Even if stress is high, if you can make your sleep first and foremost, you're still going to see a lot of recovery aspects improve from that. Cardio is 4,000 a week. Split up how I want. Meal plan's been the same. Very low food, but great food. And honestly, this is the most energized I've ever been in a prep setting, which it's not the protocols are easy, because this is definitely by far the most cardio I've done ever. most calories for cardio I've done ever before this was 445 for like 5 times a week in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But now that's like nothing compared to this. So it's funny how things.
How do you split it up for people who might not realize?
Great question. So I'll do 2 a days. I'll usually on Thursday and Friday sometimes you just don't feel good. But Thursday and Friday in the mornings, I'll try to get as much done as I can. So whether that's 500, whether that's 700, at least 500. If I can get closer to 700 in the morning, which I've never hit a 700. Most I've hit is a 670.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll call it for that morning session. I'll go back in the afternoon. Afternoons are always at least 20 minutes, which is around 250 cal. If I know that it would be more beneficial for me to end at 250,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll just pack on more cardio to do on another day. If I know that I can push myself right now and my recovery is fine and the biggest thing, your legs are going to go numb. So I had an athlete ask me if my legs go numb during cardio. Absolutely, they go numb. Absolutely, it hurts. Absolutely, I don't want to go another 300 more calories. Absolutely, I'm going to push myself to do it. So there's also, as an advanced athlete, I've been able to understand my physique in terms of what pushing myself looks like, even when my body hurts, versus what pushing myself looks like when it's going to hinder my progress. Thursday and Friday, I try to get as much done cardio-wise. Every day after that, it's 500 in the morning and then 200 or more in the afternoon. If I'm feeling really good, I'll do more in the afternoon. If I'm not, then I'll just pack it on. But at the end of the day, like, you got to get it done. So if that means Tuesday comes around and I have more than I like this Tuesday than last Tuesday, oh well. You just get it done.
Yeah.
What helps right now, consistency in terms of this is my wake schedule and this is the time I get to the gym in the morning. So routine. In the afternoon, I allow some flexibility. So sometimes I'll do it around 2 p.m. I don't do it post-workout ever.
Yeah.
I always eat and I wait an hour and do it, or I wait 2 to 3 hours and do it. So it really depends on how I'm feeling. I think for some people, having that set routine is very beneficial in the afternoon. I also believe that if you get too tied up with one schedule and your life is wanting you to pivot otherwise, but you're so tied up with this one schedule, you can also find yourself dragging because you didn't pivot with life. So you have to allow yourself to have some flexibility.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's important. Sometimes there have been times when fasted cardio just isn't going to work for my day. So same thing. I'll do it in the afternoon. Or I know some people, because they have an inflexible schedule, if they can't do fasted, they'll train at lunch and then do cardio at night. Or they'll train at night and do post-workout cardio. I think it kind of depends on the schedule and their recovery capacity. But I think it's really important to know that you can be flexible. You don't have to stick to the same rigid schedule every day to be successful.
I want to note 2 things too here. Number 1 is my weight always drops, always 100% drops after I take more rest from cardio. So actually I was 129 on my check-in last week, which was last Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I went up to 130. And then on Sunday, I dropped back down to 128. So that's another thing when we talk about weight, like weight's going to fluctuate. This is why I track it every day. If I were to track it once a week, I might hit 130 on my next check-in and be like, oh shoot, scale's going up. When in reality, I had 2 new low weigh-ins this week.
Right.
Kind of thing. So you have to be mindful with knowing your body. Mine does well when I train, but have less, there's just drops that happen. Is yours like that?
I've noticed after leg days, my weight will definitely go up. Food doesn't affect my physique as much. I can have a high day and my weight will stay pretty stable. It's more training and cardio. It's more the output than it is food for me right now. But I think that's just from time.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. My body's definitely showing me different results in terms of responses within changes of cardio and XYZ being prep protocols due to the environmental change of just prepping on my own for the first time ever and living alone is what I mean.
Yeah.
In a very long time. So a lot of the biofeedback that I've had from my past preps are different than this one, which is exciting to see.
Yeah.
I also want to answer a question for the audience because I know they probably have this question of, for us, it's new this year, I believe, that doing cardio in terms of this many calories in a week versus you hit 500 every single day.
Yeah.
500 fasted, has to be fasted. I do think once you get certain weeks out, it is, personally, I would like to have fasted. I think it's more mandatory to have that, but it is exciting being like 10 plus weeks out and having a set goal of calories burned from cardio versus do this many at this time.
Do you think like having the calorie goal, you're able to give more effort than if it was to be like 30 minutes a day?
Definitely. And I will say, like Wednesdays, for example, today's Wednesday, I don't do cardio at all unless I wake up and I'm like, it would definitely help if I did afternoon cardio today. So I might do that. If I were told that on Wednesday, I have to do this many, I would get done, but it might fit my schedule better if I was able to do that Friday.
Yeah.
And it might, because of that, because I have more time, fits my schedule better, cortisol won't be as high throughout the day because it fits my schedule better. I have the results of the productivity within my day, within training and protocols might be better, as well as the actual cardio session and the responses from my physique might be better from that as well. But like I said, once I get certain weeks out, I think it is important to have set. Yeah.
I think when you're closer to the show date, your target goal, fasted cardio serves more of that like 1% better purpose because you are lower body fat. You can start utilizing supplements like yohimbine HCl, alpha lipoic acid, acetyl L-carnitine, like supplements that when you're fasted help to mobilize the fatty acids in your bloodstream like upon waking. So I do think that using those supplements when you're closer to your target date for fasted cardio is advantageous, right?
I do think it's important.
Yeah.
You definitely see it in your physique for sure, as we've experienced. The injectable L-carnitine saw a great response on my physique. Did not see the great response out of the actual injection spots. But but I, like I said, your fasted look just looks sharper. And because of that, there is a physical response obviously happening. You look sharper, or there's physical happening, but there's also a mental response when you can wake up, look at yourself in the morning and be like, wow, I look this much better than yesterday. And that little dopamine hit of, wow, I look better than yesterday is going to improve your cardio session in the morning. But like Noa said, I do think it's important for the fatty acids.
Yeah. And obviously, like when you're so far out from a show, it's not as critical to fight for that like fat loss because you should already be seeing results of fat loss from just basic cardio diet consistency. It's really when you're getting closer to show that that extra edge helps.
I agree. And I do, for all of my athletes that have a long calorie burned goal for cardio, if you're like 2,500 a week, I'm going to give you set days because, well, number one, dude, hitting 250 in the morning is easy. If you have 4,000 in a week, I'm going to let you handle that because that is a decent amount more. And you understand you get your fatigue. 250 in the morning is easy to hit though. So hitting that 4 times a week, that's easy to fit in your schedule.
Right.
Hitting 500 in the morning and then 500 at night or in the afternoon, and me telling you what days to do that is harder to fit in your schedule. So you got to figure that out on your own kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. It depends on my relationship with the athlete of how I'll assign their cardio too, because if they're a little bit more advanced or if their schedule is super varied or I have a longer relationship with them, that I understand how they operate as an athlete, I'm more likely to give them like the total amount. So say like, okay, do 2,000 calories this week, split it up how it fits your schedule, but get it done. And sometimes I'll ask them to do times. So they'll send me pictures of their time,
sure.
just so I can see like, where's the effort? And is it, because if I need to crack down on them and be like, okay, no, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to do 250 every day. Send me a pic. It's got to be fast. It's because I didn't see the effort when I gave you too much free reign. So it also depends on like the relationship with the athlete. And like, I think that's why this prep, Justin was able to just be like, here's your cals. Whereas like last prep, it actually got to the point where I was like so high cardio that it was just like, okay, 2 hours a day. like do the damn thing, just get it done. Which I hope that everyone doesn't have to experience, but also does, because I feel like 2 hours of cardio a day, it kind of shows you what it's like to really grind as a competitor, like mentally. It's more a mental thing than it is physical, because
It's all mental.
Your feet goes numb, your hips go numb, like your mind starts to wander. But if you can focus in on that 2 hours, go through your posing routine in your head, visualize yourself on stage, just manifest and visualize while you're there, and like maybe listen to music or a podcast, educate yourself, then those 2 hours are well spent. But I also, when I was a new competitor and I was doing 2 hours of like Stairmaster, that was torture. So I feel like as you advance, you kind of learn.
You definitely learn. I will say all of my athletes that I have that are competitors, so any lifestyle athletes, I don't have a lot of cardio for them ever at all. The cardio I have for my lifestyle athlete is 300 5 times a week. I like to manipulate food a lot, but that's beside the point. What I'm talking about is with my competitor athletes, every single one of them, because they know the coach that I am, this level of the standard that I hold for every one of them, and the fact that they don't want to be the worst on the team, but they also care about achieving their goals as well, more so than they want first place. They want overall. They want a title. I'm able to give them the free range because I know that they're hitting it, but I also do the times with them at first, because it's very important. If you're hitting 250 calories in 40 minutes, dude, what are you doing? You're walking.
Yeah. Or
the machine is messed up, because sometimes you'll find an elliptical and it's like, dude, the one at the Hanover, it's 100 calories burned for 20 minutes.
And so there ain't no way. Like
that's 40 minutes for 200. That means that's 50 minutes for 300, and it should not be it should not be an hour of cardio for 300 calories.
No, definitely not.
No. So it is important to have like those variables for sure.
That's a good point. That's also another reason why you should send pics to your coach of your cardio when they ask, just in case you're using a janky machine. Dude, and you don't know.
I remember when Jay gave me 500 cals in the morning, and I was on that Hanover one,
I remember.
And I was like, there's no way I've been on here for this long and I'm only this deep. Like, there's just no way. And I'll get it done, but there's just no way. And like, then I went to Lifetime where I'm at now, and it's back to like where it should be in terms of, they're all going to be slightly different, but the machine's near the same of the Whitley, which is where I used to do cardio. So it's important to make sure you try to get the same kind of machine as well, so variables are alike.
I agree. Before we wrap up our contest prep updates, what is one thing that you have learned this prep, one lesson?
I'm laughing because there's like 2 million. Let me pick one.
You can give more than one. I think that's cool.
Learned about this prep?
Yeah.
In this prep.
Yeah, in this prep.
In this prep, about this prep.
A lesson that you've learned within this prep.
You're like, D, I asked you one simple question. There's no need to make this bigger than it is.
We're gonna talk about 5 things now.
That is hilarious. Being mentally aligned and making sure your environment aligns with the same kind of mental health goals you have will correlate to not only how your body responds, but the path that you're on throughout the prep. And I do believe that that's just something people have to experience on their own. So if you were to ask me 2 years ago, last year was a wash. 2 years ago for nationals, that was the most mentally aligned I've ever been, but my environment didn't align with that 100% either. So at the time, that is the best my environment could have gone. It still didn't align with me 100%. That's just the best it was. Like I was going to stay living where I was living. I wasn't going to move XYZ. Right now, I've realized the capacity of where my life can be mentally in terms of the alignment and how I'm able to, because I'm alone more, push that alignment to go further in different directions. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense. I like that. I like that a lot. That's a good lesson. And I think it's going to carry over outside of your prep too.
You want to know something though?
Huh?
It's a lesson that I'm learning because as of recently, very recently, there's a lot of tools I don't have in my toolbox that I want to have in my toolbox in order to personally develop myself in the ways that I want. So there's a lot of things tangibles of tools to take on new lessons to become more aligned and stronger as an individual. I don't have any of those tools. So that's where I'm at within my life. But I'm still mentally aligned. So you can still have missing tools in your toolbox, but still be mentally aligned at the same time.
You sound like you understand where you're at like currently, but you see where you could be and where you want to be. And so you're forging that path.
Mm-hmm. Another thing I learned, I'm going to say one more. Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is why you don't ask me questions like that. No. It's important to understand, especially as a competitor, the sport can be lonely. Whenever you're learning lessons in life or going through a prep or anything, sometimes we feel like we should isolate ourselves because that's the better option. And even though it's important to have more self-time, it's important not to isolate yourself because you learn more from other people who are leading the way, who are above you in certain areas or learned more than you or have experienced the same experiences, but have gone through it and come out the other side. Not my words. You learn more from those people than you do just experimenting on your own, feeling lost at the same time. I think if you have mentors that are above you and teaching you the way, you're still going to go through the same lost, finding your own path kind of journey, but you have someone to help you be led. And that's more powerful than doing it on your own.
Yeah, I agree. I saw a quote somewhere that said, you can't heal alone. You have to heal with others. And I liked that a lot because I do think it's natural for us to want to isolate, especially in a prep setting when things get really hard. But being able to lean on a community or have a mentor or have somebody in your life who you know supports you and has been through similar things or can take you through it as well. Like they're not going to hold your hand and take you through it step by step, but
they're
more
call you out.
And they can see it happening with you and they can guide you or lead you.
Because I do feel like too, based off, and I feel like I'm in that right now. I have these goals, mostly personal goals of becoming like the person and woman I want to become. I also have a subconscious lens on weaknesses that are occurring right now that I can't exactly see, but others have pointed out. And they're not weaknesses in terms of pointing fingers or weaknesses in terms of, hey, these things are occurring. Let me help you up and show you how fixing this area is going to actually help you become the woman that you want to become. Kind of thing.
Oh, interesting. I like that a lot. That's hard, but I like it. Thank you for sharing with everyone.
Share yours. What's something you learned in this prep?
Mine. Something I learned in this prep. Oh, goodness. basically that my intuition is a lot stronger and I would like to listen to it a lot more, because I knew a long time ago that trying to get on stage this year probably wasn't the right decision. But I also don't think that there is a right or wrong. I think that I needed to go through everything that I went through this year in order to finally see that I need to trust myself more, and that also I had so much more growth ahead of me. And we talk a lot about taking the time, not rushing. And I think I kind of let my ego maybe lead the way in this prep, thinking that I could do it. And it goes back to that self-belief. Like, I have such a strong self-belief in myself that I think sometimes that I can make anything happen. And I still believe that, but there is always a process. And I think another lesson from this prep is it has to do with the time. I've been really studying being present and not relying on literal time, like what would you call it? Like, is it like man-made time, like actual time? Like, you get up in the morning and you look at your watch, or you look at the phone, or you look at the clock, and there's a time that reads there, but really that it doesn't exist. Time is just a metric that we use to know when we should be showing up to places or doing things, but it actually doesn't exist. Like, past and future are not real. They don't exist. Only in our minds, in our ego, in our our conscious, our unconscious thinking mind. And I'm working really hard on learning to stay present and being in the moment, in the now, and just being and not thinking so much, because when you think, that's not actually you. Your being is much more than your mind. Your mind is a tool, and the thoughts that you have are generated from your mind, but you as a being is more than that. And we become so identified with our minds that we become trapped in our own thoughts and patterns and feelings, when in reality we're more than that. And I think I'm starting to tap into a deeper level of consciousness, but that comes from a lot of practice of me being present, not worrying so much about time, and just realizing that all I have right here is right now, right in front of me. So it really doesn't matter, like, my anxieties that might pop up about being on stage or winning or whatever. That's all in the future. It doesn't exist. Like, what exists is right here in front of me right now. What can I do right now to get myself closer to where I want to be is just being in the now.
I love that. So I had two things that popped up in my head. Number one is the anxiety part. And I do believe I learned this in the book that you're reading, Power of Now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've gotten to this part, but anxiety is rooted in the future. So worrying about the future. And a lot of the depression that we experience is rooted in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And so, which that stuck with me, because throughout my life, when I've realized my anxiety is high, it's always because of worried in the future. And then my depression was running away from what was in the past. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't gotten to that part, it's very exciting. So that book, The Power of Now, is super, super good.
I start my day with it, and it's changed a lot of just the way I operate day to day. Even this morning, like, mm-hmm. driving here, somebody cut me off, and I was like, hey, like, I said it out loud. I was like, hey, what the heck? And then I thought about it, and I just, like, took a deep breath. I was like, it doesn't matter. We're all good. Like, I'm here. Nothing happened. It's fine. You know what I mean? Like,
I probably would be the one to cut you off, and you'd be like, oh, D, come on.
But it's almost like realizing that anytime I'm triggered, being able to have awareness around it and being like, oh, I don't actually have to get emotional about this. It doesn't matter. Like, and instead coming from a place of like, oh, maybe this person's in a rush. Maybe they're late. Like, let me extend some sympathy towards them or empathy and just kind of go about my business, like stay in my own lane, focus on myself and not worry about like, oh, they cut me off and I'm going to get all angry and blah, blah. It's been really nice to be able to catch myself and be aware and be like, huh, that's an interesting thought. Like, I wonder why I was so offended by that. And then just like move on.
It is fun to study your mind in that way. I think a lot of us, especially, no offense, older generation, but I think the older generation, and I might be wrong, maybe it's just the way that I grew up as a kid, they operate with their mind first. And so their mind thinks a certain way because the way we teach our mind is what our mind believes, right? So if your family taught you different religions, they taught you do this, you eat this meal on this day, XYZ, you do this at this time. We even taught that your mind believes that we do that at this time or do this thing. But my mind is different because I've been taught differently. And then we lead with our minds. That's why, just like I said, people's, they get taught what they get taught and they lead with that. I don't think people realize that you can actually choose to think differently in a moment and then believe differently at the same time. And I believe that the generation that we're in, and even, I don't know the names, but the new generation, the generations to come.
Well, I think we're different generations because I'm technically a millennial, but I don't know if I'm a like.
Yeah, that's funny. But the point of it is the generations, right? Us and people near our age understand. Most of them, hopefully, people that listen to this podcast mostly understand that our mind could be taught from our parents or XYZ to believe this certain way. Yet we want to believe this. Therefore, we're going to choose to believe this way. And our mind can then adjust towards what we want to believe, kind of thing.
Yeah. And something that I'm pulling from the book as well is just because you think a certain way, like you're saying, doesn't mean that you have to just operate from that thought. Something I found really helpful is literally in my mind, like visualizing myself out of my brain.
That's very powerful.
And look, you know what I mean? Like it's almost like you're observing your own brain, your own thoughts, and just observing, like no judgment, just do that awareness.
Oh, I want to write that down. I'm such a writing down freak reminder that I want to literally write that down. I want to do that.
I'll text it to you, and
I'm gonna do it with my emotional standpoint. Yeah,
it's been life-changing. It's been awesome, and I feel way less just stressed, anxious, triggerable. Like I'm very zen. And what's funny is a lot of people, when they meet me or when we get to know each other and we talk, a lot of people say like, oh, you just seem very calm. You seem very quiet, very calm, very zen. And that's funny to me because I haven't always felt that way. Like internally, I've been a stress ball, like neurotic. And I think I'm actually finally finding my power in being very calm and zen. And the power that I exude is starting to actually be who I am on the inside, which is really cool.
That is super special. I'm excited for you to go through this next chapter, because I know it's going to be very like personable and your development, which is exciting, very exciting. And I get to watch it happen. I do agree. There was something that you said and I wanted to touch on. We spoke about this the other day, last week, I think. We were meeting before the podcast, and I said that we feel our own emotions 10 times more than other people can feel our emotions. So if I walk into a room and you're like, oh, Dee's energy, like she's sad, you feel my emotions, and I'm going to feel bad that you felt that. But I feel that sadness 200 million times more than you experienced from my energy.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that a lot of people forget, like yourself right now. I agree. When I first met you, and even now, I'm like, dude, she's zen. If I can on the list of Noa, 5 things, calm is always going to be on there. You may be like, who put that on there? I'm not calm at all. That's because you're with yourself all the time. You're internal. I don't get to experience ever, never will get to experience the internal Noa that you know. I will never know that Noa. Only you will. And same thing is like me. You'll never know the D that I know, but you'll know the D that you see and get to experience on the outside. And even though that's the same person, I'm not fake towards you or anything like that.
Right.
You're not in my mind. I'm not in your mind.
I don't know why this is like mind blowing me right now.
It's
because
exciting.
It makes sense.
And that's why when you take yourself, and this is another thing, that there's perspectives you can, I don't know if that's second. There's different, you can say it's second, it's not fourth perspective, but has a label. That's one perspective to look at things. Another is you take yourself. So we're here and we take ourselves and we put ourselves there. We can look and see our mind on this side. So you're reading your emotions, what you just said, you're reading your mind and what it's thinking, what it wants to think, X, Y, Z. But by observing and studying yourself, you're able to then come back into yourself and know how to assess the next stages of how to fix a certain issue, or how to fix a belief that you don't want to believe, or why at this point you get triggered. Like you don't know why you get triggered, but you stepped outside of your person. So you were able to assess at this point within conversations, or this, I have this button that gets pushed and that's when I blow up. So little self tactics of practicing things like that, definitely, they're fun to do.
They're really fun.
They're really, it's funny because for me personally, if I were to able to sit here and just do a practice like that, like take myself out and look at myself on the inside and look at my brain, you're able to detach your ego and leave your ego with the physical person, because the ego is the mind thinking about things. So you're watching your ego perform, which means you're free to just be who you want to be in that moment too.
Yeah.
Which is, it's just fun to watch what your ego wants to do. And then you're able to then come in and assess, okay, I don't want to be that way anymore. So I'm going to find a pathway to stay conscious about what my ego wants to act or what it wants to think, and then work around that or with it.
Yeah. It's really fun, and it's work, but it's fun work. Like it's something that I really would encourage everybody listening to try, especially like staying present. It's okay if you can't do it for more than a few seconds. Like even doing a few seconds, you'll feel that like deep sense of just calm. If you're going through your day, this is something that I just read in the book, but it was saying that if you go through your day and you constantly feel this low level buzz of like discomfort, unease, boredom, you feel as though there's something missing, but you can't pinpoint what it is. It's that you're too tied up in your own thoughts, your own mind. You're living in your ego, in your mind and your thoughts, and you're too identified with what your brain is telling you. So if you can even just sit with yourself for a second and step back, and like Dee is saying, even like visualize yourself stepping outside of yourself and just observe your thoughts, observe yourself, observe what am I feeling, and bring awareness to it, shine light on it. You will be so surprised by how quick that feeling of like, ooh, discomfort just disappears. Like you have to shine your light on it and bring awareness to it, and then you'll feel this peace, and that is you being present.
It is you being present, but you have to practice doing that a bunch.
Yeah,
which is
a lot of practice.
It does. So I did that when I wanted to recover my binge eating habits a year ago. I was still binge eating, but not to the point of where I used to be last year. And so I did that. I would, as I wanted, like could feel the triggers of, man, I really want to just eat right now. Like eat, like binge eat. I would take a step out and I'd be like, the ego in myself wants me to and will allow me to binge eat. But if I remove myself from my body, or kind of thing that you're saying, I feel like I have control to say no and be content and not be food obsessed, but be how I want to be. So that definitely helped me with my binge eating recovery.
It's very powerful.
Do it in heartbreaks.
Do it with
And
everything. Yeah. Especially, I think, in a contest prep. Like, practicing this through the contest prep is honestly what kept me grounded and kept me going. Because like I said, I knew in like June that pushing for stage, pushing for a show probably wasn't what what I needed to do. But I was stubborn and I wanted to prove something. But the more that I practiced being present and really just reflecting on, is this my ego or is this me? I realized this is not what I truly want to do. Me as a human, me as a coach, as an athlete, as a leader, I want to walk the walk and I want to step out of my ego and truly improve myself and just be day to day versus chasing a stage date. So yeah, I think it's incredibly powerful if you can do it in contest prep, especially because I think in contest prep, you start to get addicted to like stimulation, dopamine. Like some people get really addicted to activity and they overdo it. Some people get really addicted to food pages, food porn, and that's all they look at. Like there's addictions that come up, especially in contest prep because everything's so controlled. Your ego's looking for that dopamine spike, looking for something to obsess about. So if you can separate yourself from that, it'll help you a ton. But I also think it'd be really really applicable outside of contest prep too, just in your general life. Highly, highly recommend.
We can help you with that.
Yes. Dang.
But I hope y'all got so much from that.
I know.
We start out with prep updates, and I knew once you asked me the question, I was like, "D, you're gonna go
We're just gonna go
because." But I love rabbit holes.
I do too. I think this was incredibly insightful and helpful. And
There's a lot of practices that I'm gonna go home and do.
Yeah.
Especially I love being able to know that you're never gonna know like the D that I know, but you're only gonna know the D that you know. And like I'm only gonna know the Noa that I know, but I'm never gonna know the Noa that you know.
Yeah.
That's so special because that means that you have your own relationship with yourself that no one in the freaking world will ever come close to. And that's why it's so important to become your best friend. Cute last podcast. I'm just kidding.
Full circle. If you haven't listened to our Becoming Your Best Friend podcast, go listen to that right now. Shameless plugs.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. We will talk to you again very soon. Peace.
Thank you for listening to our podcast, Becoming Relentless. We hope that you leave this podcast feeling really relentless. That's what our goal is here. Please leave us a 5-star review. If you want to reach us, you can reach us through DM. My Instagram is Danielle Kusenberger. Noa, where can they find you?
My Instagram is Noa McCabe _IFBB Pro. And our Becoming Relentless podcast Instagram will also be linked in the bio. Make sure that y'all keep coming back every week. Like, share, subscribe. We love being tagged in your stories. And as always, leave us a comment, any questions, and we'll catch you on the next one.